What does flow mean to you? Flow is a state of mind, a state in which a person becomes fully immersed in an effortless and continuous progression. To me, the ultimate goal in jiu-jitsu is finding that perfect roll with perfect and effortless flow. I'm Professor Hayden Martz, and this is the Flow BJJ podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Flow BJJ podcast. Today I have two podcast rookies with me. We're going to talk about the recent Emerald City Invitational 3 put on by Sam Micale. I have Eric Galvez, he's a brown belt here at Flow, and I have Bryan Clement, who is a blue belt here at Flow. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Very good.
So we're going to hop right into the undercard first. We won't cover the entire undercard, but there's definitely some really good matches that I feel like are definitely worth discussing. So let's start right at the beginning. I was actually in the back with Meg during this one, but I caught it afterwards. Cato versus Hannah Rosario. Hannah was in trouble like the entire match.
Mike, here's the thing, okay? And my disclaimer to this is that Hayden was driving us, and we got stopped by the cops, okay? So he's flying through the roads, and he's doing 22 miles above the speed limit, and the cop stops us. So now we're already late, okay? We get and by the time we got there, we literally just saw Meg get on the mat. Right?
Okay.
So that part, okay, we never saw.
Well, let me recap it for you two guys.
I was there. I was in a different car. I did not get pulled over.
Hannah, from what I could see from a distance, again, I was out with Meg prepping, but Hannah was in trouble the entire match, and I watched this on Flow Grappling after. In trouble the whole match, multiple submission attempts by Cato, and then all of a sudden she locks up this triangle like quickly out of nowhere and ended up finishing with a triangle armbar. But
from top or
from like a side triangle position. Okay. And it was a huge comeback and an amazing first match of the night for sure.
Nice way to set the tone.
Really, really good, yeah.
Yep. The first two were pretty quick finishes. That one and the second one was also...
Yes. So Max Greenberg from Montgomery, one of our, another fellow Tom Deblass affiliate school. I was talking to Miguel Benitez before the event, and he had two fighters. Both of them were fighting before and after Meg. The way that they set it up, just for a little behind the scenes here, they had the fighters, the match that was going on, the match that was on deck, and then the match that was in the hole, all lined up behind the curtain, waiting to go. So after Hannah Rosario won, they had Max Greenberg in line getting ready to walk out, and then they had Meg waiting with me. So I was behind the curtain. I couldn't see the match. I have since watched it, but I believe it was 13 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. And so Meg got put out there pretty quickly after that. We were expecting to have five or 10 minutes to kind of talk a little bit and make sure, but for the sake of nerves, it probably was better to have a quick finish and get thrown right out there. It was a beautiful heel hook.
There were a lot of heel hooks that night. Mm-hmm. A lot. I mean, if I had to figure out percentage of heel hooks, like 40-50% of the finishes were on the heel hooks.
Yep. Max shot a double leg, ended up in guard, controlled the knee line, and sat back on the heel hook. Super quick. It was very, very good, especially for, I believe he's a blue belt, and Carlos Alba from the vault was who he was going against, and it was over just as quick as could be. All right, so match number 3, Flow Zone Meg Gleisner versus Elise Shaw from Riverfront Jiu-Jitsu in New Jersey. Let's talk about that one.
I thought I kind of saw the process of the whole match right from the very beginning, because she started with something. I was like, oh yeah, she did that to me. And then she kept going. I was like, oh yeah, she does that to me too. And it ended in a inverted triangle. I was like, yeah, that's about how every roll that I do with Meg goes.
Yeah,
It was perfect. It was her chain right from beginning to end. She just executed flawlessly.
Yep. The Elise pulled guard or sat to guard like immediately, which kind of surprised me, because our game plan was for Meg to work from the feet for 10 or 20 seconds, get a feel for strength, get a feel for movement, and then sit to guard. But this girl didn't even connect with Meg and just immediately sat to guard. So obviously that changes the game plan up.
Fortunately for Meg, anytime and every time we roll, I'm always playing guard,
Yes.
and she's always attacking me from top. So that became kind of just old hat for her, and all of a sudden, you just saw her mauling her over and over, and went from transition to transition.
Early on, Elise's guard looked good though. Early on, and she had a couple entries to get on an arm. She inverted for an arm and inverted for a leg.
Yeah.
But obviously, Meg has seen that multiple times before and worked through it. I've watched the match, I don't even know how many times, but it was about a minute and a half in when she finally settled into side control. And me from the corner coaching her, I knew after that it was probably going to be over.
Yeah, it looked really good. She had like a semi modified mount, and once she sat back and that leg went over the shoulder, that was all she wrote at that point.
And I know from experience and seeing her roll with me or seeing her roll with other people in here, regardless of size. I mean, if she gets to that high S mount, it's tough to get out.
I know.
It's really tough to get out.
I know.
So that's just sort of the beginning of the end.
And you saw how quickly that window closed for that girl.
Yep.
And the window closed so fast, and when she blocked the right leg, or the left leg that was over the shoulder, the right leg went over and countered.
Yep. Yeah, it was an S mount to like a gift wrap with the triangle with a Yoko Senkaku, and then swept her to her side and finished with the triangle armbar. So it was really good.
She was getting stacked at that point, and she just inverted.
Yep, it was really good. All right, so let's look at the fourth match on the card, which is another one of Miguel's students from Montgomery, Manny Pereira, against Zane Ashraf from Sarah BJJ. This match went the distance, and it was a tough fought match for sure. Manny from Montgomery got the win based on ride time, I believe, but definitely a hard fought match.
Can you break down strategically, when you're in that overtime situation, what you saw a lot of people doing? Were they sitting back and kind of staying patient and hoping for a ride time win, or were they being aggressive and trying to get the submission for the most part?
I feel like once you get to a competition level, it's not easy to finish from the back. Guys are hell bent on making sure that they're not getting tapped with a rear naked choke, especially in no-gi. There's not a lot of various choke options, without changing position. So you're really hell bent on protecting one specific, submission. Makes it difficult.
It does. And what I liked about this setup, the EBI setup versus IBJJF, where you're playing points, is that the strategy approach, the strategic part, and the tactical portion of how you play the game changes a lot when you're doing EBI rules.
Yep.
And everyone tries to finish, as opposed to, I got 2 points, and now I'm just going to sit on top of you for the rest of the match.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's, based on the EBI rules, which I still am undecided on what my favorite rule set is. I do like the EBI rules. I certainly like them a lot better than IBJJF, but you could end up in a very lengthy match under EBI rules, especially if you're on the main card. You're fighting a 10-minute round that if that goes the distance, you're looking at 3 overtimes, potentially a 4.
How long are those, the overtimes?
So 2 minutes for the top half of the overtime, 2 minutes for the bottom half of the overtime, 3 times. So potentially all in, if everyone went the distance ride time wise, could be 22 minutes long for the entire match, which you saw some pretty lengthy matches in the main card, which we'll get to.
Yeah, I watched some of the overtimes, and I didn't think that they did a lot of attempts to really finish, but really more of a ride time and a control time. And I was just thinking, if at least the way we play here, we're trying to finish at every moment, and I thought that was interesting, where everyone was, just as you said, everyone knows rear naked. Everyone defends rear naked. How many times, Bryan, have you done that to me? I hate that.
Rear naked choke?
Yeah.
Like never?
But I spent a lot of time getting rear naked, so I've figured out a way to at least work it in my game to where I constantly defend it. And I think that's what happens with most people in that scenario, is that, you know what? I know how to do this. I'm just going to stay here, and I'm just not going to get choked out. And I think the way to kind of finish some of those is like think outside the box and finish the match. That way you don't have to worry about ride time.
Yeah. Well, we saw that later on in the event. I don't recall who it was, but we saw people working from the armbar position instead of the back.
It was Oliver did it.
Oliver did it.
One other before him, the guy who
Josh
Ronan
Hayden.
faced.
Josh Hayden did it as well. I feel like a lot of positions in jiu-jitsu, it's high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
You're more likely to see that armbar finish, but you're also more likely to lose them to an escape. So it
is strategy.
Yeah, there's levels to it.
I think if you're looking at, if you take back, for the most part, you can keep back control. But I think if you're playing armbar, you're looking to finish at that point.
Right. Well, I also think that, there's a deeper strategy than that too, where the first 2 overtimes, maybe you're taking the back, and if you find that you're losing that ride time battle on the 3rd overtime, now we have to switch to armbar because we need a finish in order to win, because of ride time is not, it's clear that we're not going to win via ride time. So
there was, I forget who it was, but there was somebody who went the distance with an armbar ride. They would just, when the armbar was out, they'd switch to omoplata, then triangle. They just kept submissions coming.
Yep.
So that they still rode the whole time.
Was that was Oliver, wasn't it?
I can't remember. I don't think so. Wait a minute.
I thought it was Hayden.
Yeah.
I thought it was
could have been Josh Hayden.
Yeah,
it could have been. All right, let's look at a couple more of these undercard, and then we'll get to the main card here. So next one up for me, I don't know if you guys recall this one, but Laura Kent from 10th Planet Allentown versus Ainsley Cox from Heart BJJ. I'll be honest, I paid particularly close attention to this one because this is Haley's weight class. And for those of you that don't know, Haley was looking for a match on this card but was unable to get a matchup at Blue Belt. So these are, I believe they're both, Laura's a 10th Planet Purple Belt. I assume Ainsley is also a Jiu-Jitsu Purple Belt, but this was a super fun match for me to watch. Laura her guard looked phenomenal. Very 10th Planet-esque high guard, attacking the shoulders and attacking the neck from the guard. Lots of dominant positions, but ultimately ended up losing in overtime.
Was it due to athleticism on the other side? Or, I love that style. It just doesn't work for me, that whole dead orchard thing. And
yeah. Well, Laura in regulation had multiple chances or multiple dominant positions that she was in, and the girl just worked her way out. And then in overtime, I fully expected Laura's very tall. I don't know her height exactly, but I fully expected the longer legs to be a benefit in the ride time for overtime from the back with body triangles and things like that. But she was effective from the back, but Ainsley ended up getting a finish in either the first or second overtime.
Didn't Ainsley have the back for a good portion of regulation?
She did for a while.
Yeah.
After Kent had some really good attacking positions, and then you're right. It was either back or top side.
Yeah. Do you think she blew, like it was a conditioning thing where she just went too hard for, to try to get her move and just blew herself out and couldn't maintain during the overtime?
I mean, it's possible. It's hard to know. As you know, when you're competing, it's a whole different world than in the gym. And if you're talking about time adding up, for the undercard, it was 6 minutes per match, but then, potentially up to 12 more minutes of overtime. Yeah. So that can wear you down for sure. It could have been a result of that, but, maybe not. Hard to say. A match that you wanted to talk about, Eric, which I also thought was phenomenal. Christina Pinto from Silver Fox versus Alexandria Whitlock. That was super fun to watch. Let's talk about that one.
That was. I mean, you just saw Christina just getting mauled the whole match. And it just looked like, she had no answers for the physicality game. But that said, listening to Silver Fox on her corner, he was so calm. He just let her work through the whole match and said, you're fine, do this, do that. Very specific and detailed in what he was saying, which got her through a lot of those really hairy moments.
For sure. I paid particularly close attention to him coaching the students, because obviously that's, where I'm trying to excel is with coaching, and he was a phenomenal sideline coach. It was really neat to see that for sure. Whereas from the other side, it was all, obviously there was technique there, but it was all aggression. It was all pressure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just constant attacking the neck with the guillotine. One specific move over and over, squeezing. I thought for sure her grips would burn out way before they did.
They did. I think it's probably the adrenaline, but I really, really admired the way Christina at the time just really weathered it despite the overwhelming position that she should have been tapped. She just gutted it out. Yeah,
and Bryan missed that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, there were no concessions, and my girlfriend got hungry, so I had to sacrifice.
I've actually met Christina. She used to train at our gym over at my old place in New Jersey, and she used to go there with Enrique, who also trained. He was actually an instructor at our school, and she was a good role back then, but she clearly got much better technically.
What rank was she when you trained with her?
I think she was a blue at the time, and that had to be somewhere around 3 years ago. She used to come in, and it's always a lot of guys in the room, right? So when you find a girl that's there, and Christine is probably my wife Christine is probably one of the few women who still goes to the men's classes over there. So she stood out, so, and me being as small as I am, we rolled, and she was actually pretty good. I didn't know that she was doing a lot of tournaments though at the time, but.
Well, she's a brown belt now, so this was a brown belt female match.
Yeah,
but it was interesting because the other girl clearly had a very specific strategy, clearly a move that works well for her in her academy.
Yeah,
because she went after, broke down the head, controlled, went for the guillotine from very specific positions, and Christina fought out for, what was it, a minute and a half? Yeah. 2 or 3 different times, a minute and a half. And she would get out, escape, get to a good position, and that girl would attack with the same thing over. It was it was interesting to watch. And then overtime, it's playing now on my computer. Overtime was where the tide started to change. You know, she got out of the armbar position and then was able to finish. I have to think that girl tired herself out going after those submissions. But like you say, adrenaline gets you pretty far for a little while anyway. Can get you pretty far. All right.
Also, one more note on that. You said Silver Fox was great coaching. And something I noticed, and maybe I took this for granted up until I've watched some more jiu-jitsu, you have a very calm style when you're coaching. And I saw a lot of the more successful players have good, detailed coaching. How important is that? As opposed to, like, for example, the 10th Planet coach that was there. Pull the head or don't. Or, your arm's trapped. I don't know what I'd do from here. You know?
From my point of view, I feel like when I coach, there's a few things that I want to try to implement. And being calm while coaching, speaking at a normal level, at a normal pace, is an effort to keep you calm while you're competing, keep you level-headed, keep you from gassing out. But I also want you focused enough that you have to listen to what's being said. You know, when someone's just yelling at you, you know, it's hit or miss whether they're going to pay attention. But if you get used to being coached a certain way, and that helps keep you calm, then that's what my goal is. And then as far as the instruction goes, it's very specific. You know, I'm coaching you guys. I know what your games are, but I also know what you should be looking for if you don't see it. I have a third-person perspective, so sometimes I can see things that you may not see, whether that's offensive or defensive. But my coaching style is very much get on your left hip. Let's get an underhook with our left hand. Let's work our hips out. You know, very specific to get you into dominant positions. Whereas, you know, you hear some coaches which, you know, why are you doing that? Don't do that. Just.
But also I think, you know, when you go into a tournament and you're in that match, you've also done enough homework with respect to how you're going to approach this. And so as a coach, as a good coach that you are, you actually make sure that you stay on point and focused on those good things that you can do.
Yes. And as long as the game plan has been talked about, which that's part of coaching too. The coaching isn't just when you're sitting on the side of the mat. It's being prepared ahead of time. So, you know, when Meg and I talked a bunch leading up to this, we had a specific game plan. And I told her the game plan while I'm coaching you is going to be vague initially and then be far more specific once you get in either a very good or a very bad spot. So what I mean by that is, you know, if Meg is playing, say, bottom half guard, you know, and things are set or kind of neutral, you know, my instructions are going to be vague. You know, let's get underneath her, or let's look for this, or let's move, you know, let's transition to something else. Whereas once she gets in a dominant position, it's going to become far more specific. Yeah. Because there's nothing that girl's going to be able to do about it.
Plus, we put her, I mean, I know the training she went through. I mean, she used me as her, I guess, beating up dummy for days and days. And I just remember going 11 straight days in a row, and I think 7 of them were with her, and 30 and 40 minutes of her just beating me up. You know, so yeah, I remember I'm thinking we've covered just about every single scenario that she could possibly come across.
Right. I think a lot of people see the match and see the success, and not just with Meg, but with anyone. You know, they watch the match and they think, oh, I could do that. But what's not seen, you know, whether that's at the UFC level or at our academy, is that, like you said, the day in and day out, showing up for class, doing a minimum of 10 6-minute rounds, and then still looking to find someone to practice the EBI overtime rules with. I mean, that's a typical night 7 days a week for her leading up to this. So there was no way that we were going to be out prepared, for this match.
And I just remember thinking at the time, this girl that she had to go against has to be stronger, because everything else from a technical perspective, Mig was going to outdo her, and outclass her. Moreover, her flexibility is probably one of the more intimidating parts of her game to me. I literally go home and I say, okay, my rolling armbar no longer works. I'm going to have to find something else, and then spend 2 nights in a row trying to figure out exactly how to do a rolling anaconda so she doesn't get me.
Right. Yep.
She creates holes out of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And can create, and only requires a very small amount of space to implement something.
Yeah.
That's part of it too. And that's how it is for anyone at a high level who's small. Those windows of opportunity do not have to be open very far, and you're in serious trouble.
Yeah.
What blows my mind about Meg is comparing her level of jiu-jitsu to somebody who's pretty decent. It's almost like they're worlds apart. She and I are both blue belts. I outweigh her by 100 pounds. When I go to local competitions, 120. When I go to local competitions, usually I place in my weight class, and we rolled today. She tapped me 3 times in 5 minutes. Yeah. It's but the level is so much higher than, I think most people realize.
Yeah. No, I would. It's a lot of it's timing and just an extreme amount of time on the mats. There's no substitute for.
There's an obsession there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Almost unhealthy. I don't know. Just me.
It was either Coke or jiu-jitsu, so.
Right, exactly. So that's the matches I had that I wanted to talk about for the undercard. Let's get into the main card. So we had a 185-pound tournament with a $10,000 first place prize, and we had some pretty big names. First off, I had talked to Sam leading up to this, and there were some really big names that at the last minute backed out. One was there coaching, and that's Dante Leon. He was supposed to be in the event. I don't know if it was injury or what it was, but he ended up not competing. And John Blank from 10th Planet as well was scheduled to be in
savage.
there. So yeah. That being said, there was still a pretty good who's who list of 185 pounders. So let's look at the bracket here. I've got first matchup is Giancarlo Bodoni against Steve Caston.
And did they have a play-in tournament for this one, or is that the next one?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
So they had, let's see, there was 2 people who made it in via the finishers. I believe that was Caston and Mateo Martinez. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure. So if you're Caston, you win a finishers to get invited to the 185 tournament, and then you face Giancarlo.
Yeah, this is a pretty big underdog there.
That's a tough draw for your first match for sure. I don't know if you guys recall this, but Giancarlo's rear naked choke looked like the most brutal thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that guy's just huge. I mean, when I was watching his matches, I just saw his strength and his size, and skill sets, absolutely. But the strength portion was what really got him. As I watched it, what really kept him in control of everything.
Yep. I don't know what he is walking around at for a weight or what he was back up to the day after the weigh-ins, but this tournament had weigh-ins the day before the tournament. He had to have been at least 200 pounds. He's not a small guy.
Where's he from?
He trains with Danaher
Is he?
at New Wave. Yeah.
He must have used up all the steroids from Gordon's closet or something, because that kid's huge.
He's coming fresh off winning the ADCC trials too. So he won some big matches leading up to that. That was
him and Oliver.
Do you think he was tired from that at all? Like, did that wear and tear get to him, do you think, later in the tournament?
I don't think so. I think he just got caught.
Yeah. He got in trouble with a leg lock from that guy from Sarah, Matt Sarah's.
Nick Ronan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And once he got there, he would not let it go. And that was, I think, the only sub that I saw that Ronan had. Prior to that, it was all a bunch of overtime and ride time.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was interesting too. I feel like where they were on the mat didn't help Giancarlo at all either. It was sort of like they were kind of pinned off the corner of the mat up against the chairs. I'd have to watch it again to see, which direction the escape was, but I don't think he had anywhere to go to escape that.
And that was the one where they rolled way off the mat.
Yeah. They were right at the feet of everyone who was seated. And as fast as an inside heel hook comes on, you don't have time to complain that there's nowhere to roll to. Especially when someone who's proficient in leg locks is putting it on you.
I apologize for jumping all over the place, by the way. I know.
No, that's totally fine.
I should add a disclaimer. I don't have a filter, so I'll just keep going.
The next match, so Giancarlo winner, rear naked choke, round 1. Enrique Garlaza versus Steve Joachim. That was, I don't know if you guys caught the submission.
Yeah.
Was an Estima lock, and it was tight.
I saw that, okay, and I don't know. I disagree if it was an Estima lock. It looked like an Aoki because he set it up like an Aoki.
Could have been.
And it was beautiful. It was beautiful, and it was a nice match.
Yep. Next match I was very impressed with was Josh Hayden from Gracie Owensboro versus Isaiah Wright. Josh hit a beautiful heel hook. I don't know how far into the match it was, but it came on in a hurry. I talked to him after the tournament for a few minutes. He's another one of Tom's affiliate schools in Gracie Owensboro in Kentucky. He has not competed for 3 years.
Wow.
And is coming off from ACL surgery, and then obviously COVID kind of sidelined everybody from competing. So this was first competition in 3 years. He looked phenomenal as far as I'm concerned.
What belt was he?
He's a black belt.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been around a long time. I believe he used to train a lot with Joe Bays. I don't know that for sure, but I feel like that's the case. But his leg locks are really good, really, really good.
Jumping into playing leg locks and heel hooks after coming off of ACL reconstruction is kind of ballsy.
For sure, yeah, for sure. And he also hit, I don't know if it was the match against Isaiah Wright or if it was the next match, but he hit a couple beautiful double leg takedowns, blast doubles. Really, really good from quite a distance too. He closed the distance quickly and went after it. It was good. All right, let's look at the next one. We've got Nick Ronan versus Mateo Martinez. Like you had already alluded to, Nick's matches, I mean, he just sort of grinded them out.
Yeah.
Went the distance, won via ride time, so not a lot to talk about there other than, again, he just kind of wore the person down, worked on his escape, and he really played that ride time strategy well throughout the tournament, for sure.
I think that kind of maybe caught him at the end too, because he had a lot of mat time by the end.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And Mateo actually, I think he won the finishers in 2021.
I believe so.
He was from, he's a black belt. He's legit.
Absolutely. Yep. So while Nick had some of the longest matches of the tournament,
Yeah.
Oliver Taza had some of the shortest matches of the tournament.
Yeah.
Not to get ahead of ourselves, but to me, every time I watched Taza fight, he looked like he was on a different level than everyone else.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that these other guys aren't phenomenal, because they are. But Taza just looked a little different.
I watched both his finishes, the first two matches. One of them was with Enrique. I think it was Enrique. Yeah, and most of the actually it wasn't Enrique. Taza's finishes were off of a false reap setup. Both of them, the first two matches, both false reap into heel hook.
Yep.
And it was beautiful the way he just connected him up and set him up.
First match was Nick Domgani, and second one was against Jay Rodriguez, actually.
Yeah.
Both inside heel hooks, and just, like you said, the entry was beautiful. The finish was quick.
It's all under a minute.
Yep.
You know, the way he set up. Even, I mean, I like Jay Rodriguez's game. I mean, his brother's Nick is just, he's becoming a legend in his own name. But Nick's got some serious game. I think is he B team?
Yes.
Jay?
Trying
Yes.
to remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe so. I think he trains with his brother, but I don't know that for sure. Next match, which for me, I talked to him just briefly before the match, Sean Yadimarco versus Andre Petrosky, who I believe has fought in the UFC a couple of times.
He's undefeated in the UFC's
2-0 or
I think he's 2 or 3-0, something like that. He's real monster when it comes to strikes, but you can't punch in jiu-jitsu.
He's from Immortals. Immortals in Clifton.
Sean, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's from Immortals, but he actually cross trains with Tom once or twice a week.
Yeah.
He goes to Ocean County to train. He looked phenomenal.
He did.
In his first match against Andre. You could tell with Andre that he wanted nothing to do with the leg game. He wanted to be positionally dominant and tried to keep his feet away at all costs. And eventually Sean just finally, extracted a heel and finished.
What belt was he? I don't think he was black, was he?
Who's that, Andre? Or Sean? Sean is a brown belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he looked great.
Yeah.
I feel like with any time you're going after somebody who's an MMA jiu-jitsu person, going for legs is probably a good idea, because legs are when you're including strikes, legs is not the greatest way to go, because the guy can just stand up and punch you in the face.
Right.
So I think that may have just exposed a weakness in Andre Petrosky, because he probably doesn't rep legs as much as he does the other stuff.
Oh, I would say anytime your area of expertise, that's what you got to go after.
It's your focus. Yeah. And you don't have all the other Muay Thai disciplines or boxing disciplines, and this is all you do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Last match of the opening round was Alan Sanchez against John Parisma, and I have to say, just in general, I enjoy watching Alan Sanchez fight a lot. From 10th Planet, he looked significantly smaller than everyone else too. I don't know what his weight is, but I do know he was on the first Emerald City 16-man tournament, which was 170. So to be at this 185, he either is at 185 or less if he's been cutting to 170 typically.
He looked a lot thinner.
A lot smaller than everyone else. And he looked good. He looked really good.
And it was typical 10th Planet style, 10th Planet game inversions and, good stuff.
I was talking to Sandy about this a few days after, but I feel like, and for good reason, EBI rules obviously are Eddie Bravo Invitational, which he also started 10th Planet. Alan Sanchez, as a 10th Planet guy, looked like he had the overtime down to a science. He just looked phenomenal in the overtime. And I remember watching the first Emerald City, and the same thing was the case. If you remember back, he made it to the finals of the 170 Emerald City. There was a problem with the venue. He won his semifinal match against someone, and the event ran over the time that they had the location set for. I don't know if it was like a COVID curfew or what it was, but they were either needed to end the event after the semifinals, or he had to immediately fight. The moment he was done winning the semifinal match, he had to fight against PJ Barch.
No break?
Without a break in the finals. Who also was his teammate at 10th Planet. So it was two 10th Planet guys in the final, and Sanchez with no rest. I believe it went to overtime as well. And PJ ended up winning, but just a gutsy performance, and to play in this 185 bracket against some significantly bigger guys and do very, very well says a lot about Sanchez for sure.
Yeah. Real quick question: what did second place get?
I was wondering that same thing. I don't think they got anything. I think it was all or nothing.
Did they give bonuses? I know at previous EBIs they gave bonuses for a finish.
I didn't mention it,
okay.
But you're right. In the first one, it was a $5,000 tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was like $1,000 bonuses for submissions or something.
I think it was like 500 maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because I know Barch won, I want to say $6,000. So he got a couple submissions along the way.
But in this tournament, all or nothing, thanks for coming. 15 other guys just said, hey.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So second round.
We skipped Rodriguez and Harris.
Yes, we did. Jay Rodriguez, which we talked about him, but we skipped ahead. So
that's my fault.
Jay Rodriguez, winner via inside heel hook over Harris. That was a pretty quick match too.
Was that the one where the guy basically just looked at him and was like, "You better tap"?
Possibly. I was actually in the hall talking to Sean Yadimarco during this match, so that's probably why I missed it. But yeah, Jay winner over Aaron Harris, and then had the unfortunate draw in the next round to face Oliver Daza. So quarterfinal matchups, let me just read them off here, and then we'll talk about them. We have Giancarlo against Enrique Galarzara. Nick Ronan versus Josh Hayden. Oliver Taza versus Jay Rodriguez. And Sean Yadimarco versus Alan Sanchez. So a lot. Starting in the quarterfinals, it got really, really interesting.
Yeah, it did.
Giancarlo, winner over Enrique, submission, overtime, rear naked choke. Again, a brutal rear naked choke. I don't know what the braking mechanics he's using, but those guys did not look comfortable.
Yeah, and I was listening to Silver Fox right next to me, probably as far as where Bryan is sitting, and how calm he was and how he was trying to work Enrique into different angles and different positions. And he got out of a few, and especially during the real match. But, by the time the overtime came, the positions were already set up for Giancarlo, and he just ended it.
Was this a jaw crush type rear naked choke, or was he under the chin?
I mean, it happened so quick, but he was using, obviously he's under Danaher, and he was using the choke, but that rotational finish that Danaher teaches, and it looked very uncomfortable.
Well, they're both really technically a Henzo approach with Silver Fox.
Yep.
But and I've watched Enrique train, at my school a few times, and interesting thing about him is he's really super calm. He's a typical Hispanic guy, talks really slow, and then he almost sounds sexy when he's teaching you something, and then he's telling you to make a move. So going back to coaching, where people are coaching and they're being very detailed. I just remember him coaching Christine, and he's going, "Yeah, Christine, yeah," and I'm listening to this. I had to turn around. I'm going, "Really? She's with me." In fact, I think Christine's got a little crush on that.
Hayden, no sexy coaching, please.
It's all selective. He didn't do that to me when he was coaching me. Trust me.
We're not cute enough, Eric.
All right, so second quarterfinal matchup: Nick Ronan versus Josh Hayden. So first matchup, Nick Ronan won his first one via ride time, and then Josh won via inside heel hook, or maybe outside heel hook, but it was very, very quick finish. So in regulation, as I'm watching this, I thought Josh was going to be able to get the finish. He had multiple leg entanglements that looked good.
And arm bars. You know,
Yep.
I just think that, you know what? Ronan just has this ability to get out of really, really bad positions.
Yes. And so it went to overtime. Josh had finishing opportunities in regulation, and I felt like if that was a 80cc match, or if that was a IBJJF match, Josh would have won because he was in dominant positions multiple times. He took Nick down a couple of times, but obviously EBI sub-only rules is a different story. And then when it came to overtime, Josh elected to play armbar all 3 overtimes, which when we get further on in the conversation here, I think plays a factor in future stuff. So Josh's armbar / triangle, that high position, he did really well with that. And at one point had Nick's arm, if I remember correctly, fully extended.
I thought he broke it.
I thought it was over.
I thought he broke it.
Yeah.
Probably did. Some guys are so tough, they just don't let you know.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be feeling it, was feeling it the next day for sure. But you're right. I thought Josh, he probably took some pops to get out of that. Nick did. But Nick ended up victorious via escape or / ride time in overtime. Next match, another quick one for Taza. Taza versus Jay Rodriguez. Submission, inside heel hook. Jay looked phenomenal in his first match, winning via inside heel hook, but versus the leg attacks of Taza, it didn't look close. At least not to me.
Yeah, Oliver set that up again with the same false reap approach that I've been playing with, and man, it's beautiful.
Yep, I agree. First 2 rounds, it didn't look like, and it didn't look. Taza looked untouchable after the first 2 rounds, and for that matter, so did Giancarlo in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Although I think Taza might have had all in maybe 1 minute.
True,
Okay.
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
We're talking about Taza finishing in 20 to 40 seconds per match. It was really, really impressive. Fourth quarterfinal match was Sean Yadimarco versus Alan Sanchez. With Sean training, spending significant time at Tom's, I was really pulling for him to win this one, but Sanchez is, again, phenomenal.
Eddie Bravo.
Yeah.
He did great.
I feel like Sanchez for this one really just grounded out.
Yeah,
I
would agree.
A rough match to watch.
Yeah, I think Sean looked really good. Again, much like the Josh Hayden versus Nick Ronan fight, Sean looked in regulation under any other rule sets would have won the match. He was in dominant positions, passed Sanchez's guard a couple times, had some good attacks, but again, we're talking sub-only EBI rules. Once the timer's up, we move on to overtime. And Sanchez ended up winning in overtime.
He flew all the way from California for this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So that sets up the 2 semifinal matches. We have Nick Ronan from Sarah versus Giancarlo from New Wave. And then we have Taza from New Wave versus Alan Sanchez from 10th Planet. I'll be honest, based on how the first 2 rounds had gone, I thought for sure we were going to see an all New Wave Danaher final with Giancarlo versus Oliver, but it was not to be. So first match, Nick Ronan versus Giancarlo. Again, Nick just grinds it out.
Yeah, but I it was the only time I saw Giancarlo get in a position to where he was not in control, and all of a sudden, once Nick got into the legs, he did not let go. He just stayed in there.
Yes.
And Giancarlo had to play defense all of a sudden, as opposed to where he was on all the other matches.
Giancarlo looked super comfortable throughout all 3 rounds. And even early on in this one with Nick, he seemed to have Nick on the defense most of the time. And it looked like he was going to just
get out,
walk through him, And then something switched during one of the leg entanglements where Nick made a transition, and then all of a sudden you saw Giancarlo switch to defense, and it was sort of too late. I don't want to say the stance had any, or the edge of the mat had anything to do with it, but either way, you can't separate those 2 people. Like when you're in that leg entanglement, you can't reset a leg entanglement like that.
It's too tight.
You have to let them
let it play out.
There's no way to recreate that exact position
with that kind of momentum,
right.
With that type of
type of tightness and control. You reset that, and it's a guarantee that he gets out.
It was nice. It was a nice win.
Yes.
It was a nice win. You didn't expect it, and you know what? He was the underdog in that particular instance, and
a big win for Nick too, because Giancarlo, like I said earlier, just won ADCC trials in a massive bracket. So
did Oliver also do ADCC trials in Europe? I thought he did that one.
Possibly.
I know some of the trials still haven't happened yet.
Right. The West Coast trials should be next, I believe. Let me just...
Are people allowed to bounce around, too? Like, if you go to the East Coast trials and you don't make it, can you it's all right, I'll go to the West Coast?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So, 88 kilogram trials results. First place was Giancarlo. Second place, no slouch, Elder Cruz. Third place, Jacob Couch.
Oof.
So that's a solid...
That's a who's who right there. A murderer's row.
Exactly.
And to think that in the same weight class, we always saw Jacob Couch as the number 2 from Pedigo. When Andrew's healthy, he's kind of their number 1 guy.
Yep.
And Couch has been, finishing people that are at the top of that weight class.
Couch has been finishing, I mean, who's
number 1? He was in that one.
Yeah. He was incredible in that one.
And I'm trying to remember who he beat.
Dante Leon and John Blank. Actually, that might be why John Blank pulled out, because he destroyed his knee against
I think
Couch.
You might be right.
Yeah.
He also destroyed Jimenez's knee as well, Roberto Jimenez.
Oh, yeah, I said,
yeah, that's a tough lineup to win, and not to mention in the trials, depending on the division, there was over 800 competitors combined for 5 divisions. So I believe like the 66 and 77 and 88 all had like 180 people in the division. So you had to win like 7 or 8 matches in a row to win. So Giancarlo went on quite a run to win the trials. Big win for Nick Ronan, defeating Giancarlo. And then on the other side of the bracket, we have Oliver Taza versus Alan Sanchez.
I don't remember that match, at least not a lot of it.
Taza won in regulation, inside heel hook, but he didn't look nearly as dominant as those first 2 rounds.
That's right. I think it's the flexibility and inversions that differed from his other matches.
Yeah, I mean, and just Alan Sanchez's level is clearly very, very high. Taza also didn't look huge like Giancarlo, Nick Ronan. Those guys cut clearly to get to 185.
What do you think? He's 170?
Taza and Sanchez didn't look nearly as big.
Yeah.
They probably walk at 185.
That could possibly be. But that was a fun match to watch. Taza winning in regulation. Would be interesting to see that match if it had gone to overtime. Because Sanchez had the overtime figured out for sure. If you take the legs away from someone like Taza, what do you end up with?
Top. He's got to play top.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's an interesting thing, too, with Josh Hayden. I feel like you give Josh Hayden versus Nick Ronan, you either give that 15 or 20 minutes of regulation or you give that a different rule set, which does not include overtime. I think Hayden catches Nick Ronan at some point. His leg entanglement in the first match looked so fast.
And Nick had already had so many matches, long, tough matches.
Yep.
So yeah, he was ripe at that point.
If you ever want to hear an extremely fun story, listen to Miguel Benitez's Tapping In podcast. He tells a story about Josh Hayden having Tom in an Achilles lock. And I will not spoil it for you guys, but you need to find it and listen to it. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But Josh used to train, or is still under Tom, but spent a lot of time, training with Tom in the meantime. And his leg locks are very dangerous. So this, based on what he told me, was just a tune-up type of thing to enter to support Sam and knock off some rust before ADCC. So be interesting to see how he does there. So setting up the finals, Oliver Taza versus Nick Ronan. What are your thoughts?
I felt like Nick looked tired. Honestly, I had that impression right from him even coming out onto the mat. I was just kind of looking at him, and he looked like he'd been through a lot of battles at this point.
I would agree.
Plus, they know each other. I mean, I'm sure they've trained together, they've competed with each other, so the styles were not unfamiliar for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the fact that Nick had already gone through so much that day, he was already compromised.
I feel like when you call somebody a scrapper, it makes you feel like they're not technical. Nick is very technical, but his matches were all scrappy. There was something about them where he just was always coming at you, and that had to be tiring by the time you get to the finals.
Yeah. It's a lot of heart.
For sure.
A lot of heart.
For sure. He also, I don't know which match it was, but he got either headbutted or kneed or elbowed in the tooth, too. I think he lost part of his tooth in one of those matches. They stopped that temporarily for him. So just to finish off this last match, it got interesting at the end. So it went to overtime, and Nick, I believe Nick took the back control first. Taza eventually escaped.
He had to work for that.
He did. But then where it got interesting was when it was Taza's turn for ride time. He chose the armbar, and where a lot of people would expect the back control, he chose the armbar. And then to take it further, he made 100% sure that he got the arm that Josh Hayden just went after 3 times.
He specifically said, I want the right arm.
Yes, yes, he did. Which, you wouldn't notice that if you were watching it at home on Float Grappling, but we're sitting there, Matt's side. Yes, he specifically asked for the right arm, because that's the one that Josh Hayden had just went after 3 times and at one point had it fully extended.
Yeah.
That's a smart strategy.
That was beautiful.
For sure.
But he had to go to that overtime twice to finish Nick.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it lists the finish as an inverted triangle, but it was that triangle armbar position.
It looked like he was setting up for a Yoko Sankaku. In fact, I was sitting right there, and I'm talking to Aiden. I'm going, he's going for a Yoko. And I'm thinking, Oliver might get mad at me because I'm telling Nick what he's gonna do next, But
Yeah.
it was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
So, yep, Oliver, was it the second round? I
Yeah,
believe
it was the second.
Yeah. But like you said, Brian, I think after that many overtimes for Nick, he had to be worn down, regardless of your conditioning level.
Yeah.
I mean, going through what he went through, that's a lot of time.
He had, just in the second round and third round combined, he had 44 minutes of jiu-jitsu.
Right. Yeah, because he fought Martinez first round. That went all the way through overtime, won via ride time. Quarterfinals, Josh Hayden, all the way through 3 rounds of overtime. And then Giancarlo, who was, as we already talked about, looked huge and won. He got a heel hook, but it was late
Yeah.
in the match. So you're talking probably close to an hour on the mats.
That's a lot
At
of
a
work.
competition
That's a lot
level.
of work.
That's a lot.
Plus the 10 minutes with Taza, 2 in going into the second overtime. So yeah, you're talking an hour and 10, an hour and 15 minutes of mat time. It's gonna wear anyone down at a competition level for sure.
I feel like there's not really. I mean, you can get your conditioning as peak condition. There's not really a way to prepare for that though. Like really, your body's just gonna break down anyway.
Well, unless the
Yeah.
other guy sucks.
Yeah, if it were me, it'd be like, oh yeah, an hour with Bryan. It sounds like fun.
I was like, I don't even want to eat for an hour, and I like eating.
It would be interesting to know how these guys, not the preparation beforehand, because we know how extreme that preparation is, but it would be interesting to know what sort of preparation someone like Taza goes through during the evening for a match like this, where okay, I'm going to fight right now, probably going to fight again in an hour, going to fight again in 35 minutes, because each time that gets closer and closer in between.
I guess you'd have to approach it from the standpoint of, okay, this is my one fight, this is it, not to get too far ahead and say, okay, I've got to get, more than likely so-and-so is going to win and that's my second match. And
Do you think he would do something such as like not warming up, knowing that he has a lot of mat time in front of him to conserve energy? Maybe just some light stretching.
That's where what I would be really curious to know is how he's fueling himself, is he just stretching and staying loose, or what is, that's not an easy thing to prepare for.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was the same exact situation with these guys having to fight through 8 people to go win the trials,
Yeah.
where every single match is a lose and you go home.
yeah,
It's not round robin or something like that where you lose, I'll come back and I'll win the next one. No, you got to win this one or else you're done. So it's interesting.
I know Dan Gable is famous for saying you shouldn't go out on the mat unless you spent an hour warming up. But I feel like when you have such long matches, it's going to be impossible to do that.
That being said, you have to be 100% ready to go for the first match, because if you don't win the first one, then you're not going to continue on. And if you step on the mats with a talented jiu-jitsu guy, you better be ready, because it could be over in 10 seconds.
yeah.
You're thinking about the next 4 matches in a row, but it could be over in a hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you guys were warming Meg up, who was warming her up? Because
Austin.
Haley was warming her up for the most part.
What was the level of intensity? I mean, how are you approaching that?
What I usually tell most of my competitors, and I don't know that this is a perfect science, but it's what I feel has been most effective over the years, because it's easy. I can tell it to a 10-year-old kid, and I can tell it to a brown belt, and that is, I want you to warm up to the point where you feel like you're just starting to sweat. You're not like in a full sweat yet, but you feel like you're just starting to sweat. another way to put that is I want you to feel like you do when you're about to start your second roll of the day in training at the academy. So
not like when I'm training with Gabe on my first roll, okay?
Right.
And Gabe's all in, and it's like you kicked his dog, and he's trying to kill you.
Yeah, Gabe's trying to kill you from the moment he gets within 5 feet of you.
I know.
But I feel like you have to be, you can't tire yourself out, obviously, but you need to be sufficiently warm so that you're very sharp, because you can't be surprised by anything. So for me, that feeling of, I just did a 5 or 6 minute round with, say, Kevin, and now I'm going to walk over and train with Bryan. I'm sufficiently warmed up, sufficiently stretched out to where I can go from 0 to 100% and be okay, both physically and mentally. That's kind of the area that I want people to be in.
Did you approach this differently relative to the other tournaments that you went to, simply because of the weight of the super fight as opposed to, let's say, Tap Cancer or some local tournament?
Yeah, a little, but mostly just in the mindset. I want you to be maybe slightly warmer than normal because we're preparing for one fight, not 6 or 7. And I also, that from a physical standpoint, I want you just slightly warmer than you normally would be so that you're ready. And then from a mental standpoint, it's just prepping Meg to literally give it everything you have. You've got 6 minutes, maybe up to 10, but more than likely this is going to be over in 3 to 6 minutes. So I want you to leave it all out there. Whereas if you're competing in, 6 or 7 matches in a row, we need to make sure that we go hard, but there's that little bit more that you have to leave to conserve, and there's the last thing I would want is for her to conserve a little bit of energy and then think, oh, I could have won if I had gone just to 5% harder. Like literally go for it. Your conditioning, her conditioning is top notch. So she's not going to gas out in 6 minutes, regardless of what pace. She could go full out for 6 minutes and still be fine.
Yeah, I know.
We've all experienced this.
For sure.
But I would have thought that the gravity of the moment, the fact that this is a first super fight for someone here,
yes.
I thought, I would have thought that maybe you would have changed anything as far as how you would have done it, or was this exactly how, looking back on it, this is exactly how I would have done it again?
I would do it again, exactly the same way, for sure. And yeah, it was a big deal for me, for this school to have its first super fight, and it was obviously clearly a huge deal for Meg.
How was her head?
It was good.
I think she yelled at Hayden because we were late and we were stopped by the cops. And
I think I was more mad at Hayden than she was.
Hayden's never had a ticket before, so he had that deer in headlights look, like I'm sorry.
She was visibly more nervous than normal, but that's to be expected. It's the first time you do something. There's going to be additional nerves. It was similar to the first few times that I watched her compete under a local tournament, so a good fight or Grappling Industries or something. Those first few, the nerves are high, but then when you do it, 5 or 10 or 15 times, those butterflies don't happen anymore, and she was far more methodical. This time leading up to it, you could tell there were additional new nerves, but the moment jiu-jitsu started, it was...
That's usually...
She told me that, I was like, were you nervous? And she was like, not really. I was just more happy to finally be doing jiu-jitsu again because Hayden wouldn't let me roll.
That's right.
That was part of the plan, too.
Yeah, it was like Thursday night, and you said, Meg's only doing 4 rolls, and they'll be selective, and they're all flowing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Well, I mean, that's purely because for her, that wasn't so that she could rest. It was more to avoid just a freak
Injury.
accident.
Yeah.
Because that would be the worst thing in the world to prepare for something for 2 or 3 months. The biggest thing that you've ever done sports wise, prepare for it to be 110% ready to do it, and then have a freak accident happen.
Yeah, I remember rolling with her that night. I'm thinking, don't break her. Don't break her.
There's a lot to be said for that, though, too, because like the smallest things can upset your preparation. Like there was a guy back when I was wrestling in high school. He was a 3-time state champion. This was his senior year. And he didn't check how much his bagel weighed the night before the state tournament. And he got up the next morning, he was 0.3 of a pound over. And while jogging to lose the 0.3 of a pound before the state tournament, he broke his ankle.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much.
No.
It can just end everything. So it's very smart, I would say, to kind of put the bubble wrap on.
For sure. Especially, I mean, you have to prepare, and you have to prepare hard. But when there's a line where you cross over and preparation is done, and now it's time to recover and mentally prepare for the tournament, there was no benefit to 10 rounds on Thursday night at 100% effort.
Not according to her.
That would have been worth it.
She'd have done 10. Easy.
I know. That's why I made sure she did. All right. So that closes out the 16-man tournament. Let's take a couple minutes here before we end the podcast and talk about the 2 super fights. There was a match between Amanda Leve and Lauren Jones from Black Hole Jiu-Jitsu. That was a fun match to watch.
It was. I watched Amanda actually just do a phenomenal job physically, and she just recently beat Gabby Garcia, and so there's game there.
Absolutely.
That was an impressive match too. I had the privilege of being there for that one against Gabby, and it was the control she has with her jiu-jitsu is, I would say, unrivaled in some of her positions that she gets into. And I think that was evident both in the Gabby match, but also in this one. Once she gets to your back, she's not coming off.
She doesn't. I mean, she had the whole right time. I think maybe one Lauren got out with like 2 seconds or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of discipline too on Amanda's part. That the way that match played out for me, if you're just a casual jiu-jitsu fan, that might be boring to see that position. Basically, most of the regulation, she was on her back.
Yep. And
the entirety of the overtime, or almost all of it. So you're talking about 15 minutes, 13 to 15 minutes of having her on the back. Maybe that's boring to some people. For me, that shows that she's very disciplined. That's exactly what I would want out of any of my competitors, to get to the most dominant position that there is and not relinquish it, to constantly attack the neck, not successfully.
And manage risk.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm the other way. I want to finish. Okay.
But to physically dominate, she dominated all aspects of the match.
She did.
She did not get the finish. Clearly, Lauren Jones is a tough girl. But
Leve's ability to stack and patiently work out of the armbar is also impressive too, because she was in an armbar.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Lauren chose armbar in the overtime all 3 times, and it took a lot of time every time for Leve to work her way out.
Yep.
So that was also
super
patient.
Super patient on her part, exactly. Where any mistakes she would have had, all the ride time would have been for naught.
It's interesting strategy wise. I was talking to someone about this last week, but the way that she went through that match is exactly the way that I see and try to have both Haley and Meg fight as female practitioners as well, and that's to where they both come from a completely different angle. You know, Meg likes to play guard, but ultimately Meg's strongest suit is that high back control where you're threatening the neck, you're threatening the side triangle, you're threatening the rear triangle and the arm lock. And the same for Haley, where you're looking to pass the guard, mount, get them to turn over, attack the back and the neck and the arm from a high mounted position.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Levy did the entire match. I think that's a very safe path to victory if you can obviously implement it, which is not easy, but it was played perfectly on her part. All right, let's look at the last one of the night.
This is a fun one.
Yeah, definitely a fan favorite, the Giant Slayer, Esteban Martinez versus Eric Naples from Hobbs and Mora. Naples, I believe, just won IBJJF Pans like a month or two before this. So I didn't know who he was at the time.
Yeah.
But clearly he
gave a really strong account of himself.
He made a very good showing. Yep. Honestly,
it's kind of young too.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like it's practically impossible to break down that match because it was too fast. Non-stop movement.
You mean non-stop cartwheel passes.
Right. Esteban is one of the most exciting people to watch do a jiu-jitsu match that I've ever seen.
And he's my weight class.
He's smaller than you, I think.
I said weight class.
He's an atom weight.
I don't know that he is 5 feet tall. In fact, I don't think he is.
Gosh, I'm taller than someone. That's awesome.
The match supposedly was at 125 pounds. I don't know that either guy was 125 pounds, but possibly.
I was 123 at the time. I could have done that.
You could have done that. The regulation, which was 10 minutes, saw cartwheel passes, backflips, leg entanglements, guard passes, guard recoveries. It literally did not stop. And then in overtime, it was like a light switch and everything changed. I don't know if you guys recall. Esteban chose the back first, finished a rear naked choke in 22 seconds. So when you turn things around, now Naples has to
finish in 21
seconds. So there's a little bit of a, having that in the back of your mind makes it even more difficult because you have to kind of go for broke.
Yep.
So Esteban was able to get out in about 20 seconds and then got the win via, it would be considered via submission since he submitted in his
He
top
did
half.
push him, though. He pushed him. I mean, he went through the whole regulation. I mean, I've seen that. I've seen Esteban just demolish way, way bigger guys.
Yes.
And here he got pushed to the end.
He had, in the last ECI, he had the match at the tournament against Cameron.
Yes, he did. Cam from Ocean County. Cam's a purple belt under Tom. That is a phenomenal match. In fact, that reminds me I need to go rewatch that again because it was so good. Another really good match from about a month ago. Esteban fought against Sam Micale. And
oh, really?
That was very, very good as well.
I haven't seen that one.
If you have not seen that, it's definitely worth watching.
Is it on Flow Grappling?
It should be. Okay. Yeah, we watched it. I forget the promotion, who was putting it on. I'll have to. I'll post it in the comments of the show. But very fun match to watch.
He plays that small game so well.
He does.
really does.
He's slippery. He gets out of. You see people put him in submissions that you think are like it's over, and then he just slips out.
Because he's also physically strong.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that he, you think of most 125 people, he's slightly shorter than the average 125er. So instead he has, 5 or 10 pounds extra of muscle. He's stocky even for a 125.
And fast.
Yes, and extremely fast. Yeah. All right, guys. Any other matches you wanted to speak of, or otherwise we'll wrap it up.
I guess I would just say that I've been to a couple of ECIs. It's a phenomenal show. It's well worth the trip and the money. Sam always, because he's been to our school, he's the one that organizes ECI. He always comes up and gives you a big hug. It's awesome, thanks for coming. Like it's a really good environment.
Yeah.
Is he coming up?
Sam is a great guy. Yes, he's. We got to work it out.
Mm-hmm.
We were gonna shoot for December, this month here, but things just got a little bit too tight with time and stuff like that. So I think we'll probably shoot for January, and hopefully we'll get together again. He's a phenomenal teacher, phenomenal guy in general.
He's a strong leg locker too.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, holy cow.
Absolutely. And a solid competitor too. Another phenomenal match to watch is there's a fight to win match between Cameron and Sam.
Yeah.
And that is absolute fireworks for sure.
It's interesting, I've rolled with, some of the guys out there that he's rolled with, and being on a roll with someone at that level is just so incredibly demoralizing.
Yes.
where you just feel like this puppet. There's nothing you can do. Absolutely nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Even when you think you've got a position and you have it, he just picked me up and like stood up. I'm like,
I remember thinking or coaching Haley and Meg when he was here. Not the day of the seminar, but the following day, we did like a noontime
I remember I was there.
class.
Yeah.
And so they each got a chance to roll with Sam so he could kind of see where they're at and stuff like that. And I said to each of them separately before their roll with Sam, I'm like, listen, do not let him invert underneath you because it's going to go south immediately from there.
Yeah.
Less than 5 seconds to both of them. He was already inverted and in on a leg in under 5 seconds.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I rolled with Frankie Rosenthal and a few years ago, and it just felt exactly like that. I was just floating around in this floating pass that I thought I had, and yeah, I was just getting insights in Kahoot while I'm getting thrown up in the air.
Yeah, there's another level that most people can't comprehend until they feel it, and
it kind of sucks. I mean, I've been doing this for like 9 some odd years, and I need my money back.
It feels like you're not even playing the same game.
You're not.
Yeah.
well, that's because you're not.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember rolling with jiu-jitsu when I went out there in the spring, and it was, I mean, like, I was doing everything I could, and he was like having a conversation with somebody about class scheduling the entire time and just like beating the crap out of me. I was like, it's not even, it's so high.
But you're not very good.
I'm not, especially back then.
It's honestly no different rolling with Tom. I mean, I've rolled with Tom a bunch of times, and he literally, Bryan, Jiu-Jitsu Cop, said it best to me. He's rolled with Tom multiple times as well. He makes you feel like a child. It's just, you can't do anything. He's stronger than you are. He's faster than you are. He has more knowledge than you do. There's nothing that you can do. You're helpless. And the gap in skill level between an average black belt and someone like Tom is greater than an average black belt and like a kid orange belt. Like, it's just, the highest level is closer than you think, but way further away than you think.
You might need a gun.
And even then,
And
he better be more than 20 feet away.
He's gonna say he's gonna take your gun, and then you're screwed twice. What's the difference between what makes somebody like Tom happen, where he is just so much far and away better than everyone else?
Obsession from
physical
ability early on. You know, he was a track and field star in his high school, but then after that it was just pure drive,
Did he do
discipline,
wrestling?
and stuff. I don't believe so.
He looks like a wrestler.
He's from New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be obsessed to get to that level, and that's, I think, a pretty common theme among everyone at the highest level. Some people call it discipline, but you can't. It's not even just discipline. It's you have to be obsessed with what you're doing, otherwise, you're gonna quit. You know.
It's way too easy to quit. But that said, you know, when you look at old school jits and you look at, I guess you want to call it new school jits, you know, the old school still works. But that said, the game just continues on moving forward, you know, and improving. And I see it and I watch them going, oh my God, all these kids are just going to beat me up soon. Okay.
But jiu-jitsu in the grand scheme of martial arts is a very young martial art in comparison with something like taekwondo or judo or something like that. Jiu-jitsu is still evolving, for sure. If you step back and look at it.
Oh no, definitely, I agree.
But also, there's an element of the fact that it's sort of on a smaller scale. It's a little bit cyclical, where something new comes out. That's the meta currently. Then everybody figures out how to defend that, and then there's something different comes out, and that sort of falls by the wayside. And I've seen it over the past 10 or 12 years, and I feel like that's another transition that will happen. Like, I've seen leg attacks weren't really a thing when I started jiu-jitsu.
It was frowned upon
12 years ago. It was only a thing in a very segmented areas. You know, it was a Dean Lister thing. It was a John Danaher thing. It was certain people, but it was frowned upon for the most part. But then they win at the highest level with leg locks. So now what do you have? You have everybody else learning leg locks. Everybody's learning the leg lock defense. Now the number of leg locks goes down and people start looking for the next thing. You know, when people, it just comes back around.
I'm waiting for wrist locks.
What do you think is going to be the next thing?
Wrist locks.
I talked to, I can't remember who I was talking to about this. Maybe it was Hayden, but I feel like control positions and finishing from certain control positions is going to be, it's already becoming a thing. So if you look at someone like Gordon, his instructional attacking from top pins, he basically went through that whole thing. He fought against Mateus Denise and was like high mounted, both arms pinned straight above his head, like, and then sits to S mount and arm locks him with, you know, it's not easy to control an 80cc winner like that.
Anytime he's got a book or a DVD to sell, okay, that's what his next tournament's going to be like.
Right.
He's just going to go after arm locks because he's doing a DVD on arm locks.
Yep. Yeah. I feel like that's a direction that, and this is just my thought. There's no science behind it, but I feel like that's an area that I will see more of from him. Because you also see a lot of the, it used to be DDS guys, but there was a string of who's number ones where all of a sudden you see Nicky Ryan hitting people with double leg takedowns.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, why would you go after double leg takedowns if normally you play guard and enter the legs?
And you're a jiu-jitsu player.
Right. So now you're hitting double leg takedowns, going to mount and attacking from top. Is that the next thing? Maybe. I can't think of anything
he
else.
looked like a wrestler in that one.
Absolutely.
I was like,
and that was
holy
against
cow.
Dante Leon, who was a very good wrestler.
Exactly. And he got hurt.
Yes, he did. 2/3 of the way through, he messed up his knee. That was a very good match to watch.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, again, it also depends on the rule set because, ADCC rules are different. No points for the first half, points for the second half.
Yeah.
Negative points for sitting to guard. So you have to wrestle from the feet. So the rules make the game just like everything else. We've had wrestlers come in here and try jiu-jitsu and does not go well for them.
They suck like me.
But
Yeah,
if
but
a
you
jiu-jitsu,
stayed.
but the reverse is
Still
true too. If a jiu-jitsu guy goes into a wrestling practice, guess what? He's going to get pinned a bunch of times. Is jiu-jitsu better than wrestling? No, it's a different sport and there's different rules. So ideally, you should have both. As a casual grappler, most people don't have time for both. But as a competitor, you should be working both for sure.
Definitely. I mean, including Sambo and all the other stand-ups that come with it, if you're really looking to improve yourself and get better and play at another level.
Yeah.
So let me ask from a personal perspective, Bryan, what are you looking for in this game?
In jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
As
wow,
an
that's
art
a
or as
long
a
pause.
He's looking for his guard.
I don't have one. No, as an art, I really enjoy doing it. So no matter what, I think I'm kind of in it as just a long-term practitioner. But I initially got into jiu-jitsu to compete. I had the idea of, I kind of got into jiu-jitsu from, watching Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor in the UFC. And I always, even back when I was wrestling, I wanted to do that. So I got into jiu-jitsu with the idea of doing that. So that's kind of what I want to do.
And
but
how's it changed? Is it the same thing for you? Sorry, am I taking over? Sorry.
I think it's this. I think it's the same. I think I have a different vision of what that means and how to do it and what's going to be required.
Is it easier than you thought it would be?
No, I know I think you've quoted me on this podcast before, but when I think it was when I think it maybe 1 or 2 stripes on my white belt, I went up to you. I was like, man, the amount of work I had to put in to get one of these stripes, I thought I'd be a purple belt by now. Like, it's way harder than I thought it was, but it's also way more worth it than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's in general just also true of most things that you do.
Anything worth doing that's difficult, right? It's going to be so much more rewarding. I mean, I recall when I was younger, all I wanted was a blue belt. That's all I wanted, and
me too, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And then after that, purple. And then when I got to a certain point at blue, I think about 4 years in as blue, I was like, I don't want any more colors. I just want to keep doing this. I want to be the most dangerous blue belt you never want to roll with on that mat.
Yep. Tyler Fish. Like I looked at the little tracker that we have here at Flow that just kind of logs all your sessions that you do, and I've put the same number of hours or close to the same number of hours into my blue belt as I have into all of my white belt, and I still don't have a stripe on my blue belt, which is fine. I don't need one, but it's every level up it gets harder.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting too because like Eric said, eventually there should become a point where the belt doesn't even matter at all.
And don't even want it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And honestly, once you reach that point, that's the time when you finally are ready for the next one, which is terrible. You're ready for the next one when you don't want it anymore. But I was the same way as you when I started. Obviously we weren't nearly as connected to
To the game.
the bigger
Yeah.
scene of jiu-jitsu being under Tom and things like that. It was much more of a small scale. I couldn't imagine myself beyond blue belt. Like that was, and I feel like that's probably the way that anyone first starts jiu-jitsu. They look at those blue belts and like, I want that sometime, I want that someday. But they don't see beyond that. And I feel like that might be a reason why people quit at blue belt, because they look at the blue belt as their goal, and then once they get to it, they feel like they've reached their goal. But blue belt isn't the goal. It's like the first checkpoint,
Yeah.
So both of you are significantly more advanced in the game than me. How is your impression of what jiu-jitsu is changed from when you were like a white belt to blue belt? Now you're Hayden, a black belt, and Eric, you're a brown belt. How is what you envision a brown belt to be or a black belt to be changed as you've gone along?
Oof. You could do that one.
For me, I feel, and I've always said that I feel like there's giant gulfs in skill between white and blue, and between blue and mid-level purple. I feel like those are two huge jumps. And then I feel like from purple to black is a very small amount of skill difference. But the difference is the fine-tuning of the game and the details and the ability to explain it to other people successfully. If you take a 2-stripe purple belt competitor, he's going to hang in there with a black belt competitor. It's not going to be a landslide. Will he win? Maybe not. But it's not going to be nearly as drastic a difference as if you took that same 2-stripe purple belt and put him with a blue belt or a white belt. Those are big jumps because there's so much to learn between white and blue, and there's so much to learn between blue and purple. But after that, it's just getting better at what you already know for the most part. No, granted, there's new things you're going to learn, but I think it's mostly fine-tuning, figuring out what your game is, what works for your body type, and just settling in and enjoying the ride.
Yeah, I'd have to agree, especially on the white to blue. That's where you start finding the fundamentals and you start getting that big jump in your game. Example of that is Gabe. Okay, that guy's is so rough around the edges. However, the amount of time he's spending right now, both here as well as off mat, you can see how he's growing. But that said, getting to purple, I think for me personally was where I started figuring out what my game is, what worked for me as a smaller practitioner. And then right now, I don't know. I'm an overrated purple in my opinion at this point, being the brown belt. But then again, I'm the reticent brown.
Right after you get promoted, I read an article. It's called imposter syndrome, where you don't feel like you're the belt level that you're wearing. You still feel like the previous level. Yeah. Even though you are, and everybody else knows it, and your instructor knows it, you don't feel like you're a brown belt or whatever you're promoted to.
Yeah, I think I shared with you, it took me a long time to find a cake that was purple to celebrate my purple belt. Okay, so now I finally find it, and I sent you a picture of it. Now I have to find a brown cake, okay, but inside I'm going to have the same purple.
Chocolate cake is easy to find.
Well, the chocolate cake is, but then in the middle will be purple. So I'm going to have the same purple cake and just color it chocolate outside.
I can live with that. I think the other thing with the belt rankings, they're loose, right? They vary from school to school, but I don't think a lot of people realize when they start that the length of time between white and blue is far less than the length of time between blue and purple. And I think that's a reason why a lot of blues end up quitting because, one, they feel like they reached their goal and it's all set now. And now it's like, okay, well, I know enough. I'm all set. And then two, it's a long road to purple belt because purple is I would consider a senior belt. Like, if you get strapped with a purple belt, I would expect you to get a phone call mid-afternoon from me and I have an emergency, I need you to teach tonight. And at a purple belt, you should be able to conduct a well-thought-out class on short notice and be able to explain that to people or be able to, have far greater, you have a wide amount of knowledge, but you still need to fine-tune your details. That's the difference between you and a higher belt.
Yeah, I find that teaching for me is it's a lot harder than I would have thought. Okay, I mean, in my mind, I think I have it. However, being able to change things and being able to, more importantly, articulate it in a manner that resonates to the room itself,
yep.
That's hard as hell.
Because you can't like have your specific teaching style and just be like, okay, well, this is how I teach. Here you go. People learn different ways, and you need to be able to teach all the different ways that people learn. That's why you'll hear me explain the same thing 3 or 4 different ways, because some people learn by watching, some people learn by hearing it or physically being moved in the right position. There's a couple people that I'll walk around, I'll have explained it thoroughly, 1, 2, 3, clap, let's go do it. And then there's a few people that I have to physically move their body the direction that it needs to go.
That would be me.
Not you.
Definitely me. Though. You've done that to me a lot.
But then it's like, oh, I get it now, because they see it, but that's not the way they learn. They learn by physically moving a certain way. And if you don't know that, somebody that may have all the talent in the world to become great at jiu-jitsu may never become great because the instructor didn't know how to help them learn.
Yeah.
It's that's why not everyone is cut out to teach either. There's black belt competitors who are phenomenal competitors but not good instructors, and they'll even tell you that. It comes down to, it's very difficult to be both a high level competitor and a high level instructor / coach. There's some people that are, like Gordon, phenomenal instructor and competitor.
I don't know. That's probably more a product of the fact that John is his coach and John is OCD enough to where it rubs off on him.
Yep. No, I would agree.
I mean, if I've listened to a few of his students and they've done seminars and they all sound the same, the same tone, the same speed with which they articulate a move.
Yep. I attribute my teaching to Aaron, Blake. We're under Tom now, but we were under Aaron for up until I was 2 years into my brown belt. We were under Aaron. He teaches exactly how I teach. Mm-hmm. That's where I learned it from. And I feel like he is a phenomenal instructor. So I tried to learn to teach just like he did. And I feel like it works, but everyone teaches different, and you don't necessarily have to have competition success at the highest level to be really good at teaching someone how to have success. You need to, like Tom says, instructors need to suffer along with their students, but they need to make sure that they know what they need to know. Guys like Danaher hasn't won shit from. He had surgeries that ruined his chance to be successful himself, but his mind allowed him to make champions because of the effort he puts in. He's obsessed with jiu-jitsu and making champions.
Yeah. It also helps to have the athletes that he had.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like some of the lesser names that he had now are becoming amazing as well. You know, if we look at the tournament, we just had Giancarlo and Oliver Taza. Oliver's not particularly strong or particularly anything, but he's sure is talented now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's been a grind up through the process because that wasn't always that way.
Yeah, I remember when he was in Canada, and he was still with TriStar, and him and Krelinson were making their trip all the way down here.
Yep.
And the work it took to be at this level right now, where we just watched him at a tournament where he just finished 2 matches in a row in under a minute. You know, there's a lot of work in there, a lot of sacrifice.
That's another thing that I remember Tom was talking about with Gordon. He needed somebody to, I forget why, but he like needed somebody to train with him that night. And Gordon was like, sure, I'll be there. And came down, trained. And later on, Tom figured out that Gordon was in Canada and drove 20 hours overnight to be there. And 100%. It's like, that's how it is at the high level. Like, you have to be willing to sacrifice that much.
Yep. And not everyone is willing to make that sacrifice. And that's totally fine.
I didn't even want to make it up to 8 o'clock this morning. Like, what the hell?
And a 15-minute drive with no traffic. No, I completely agree. That's why if you look at, you know, people that have success, look at Jaden, right? Mm-hmm. She moved from Colorado to train with Tom. Right after that, she was already a purple belt. She lost the first round. I forget whether it was Worlds or Pans, one of the two. She lost in the first round. And Tom told her, like, this is part of the story. It's not the story. And then guess what? A few months back, she comes back a year later and wins it all, you know. And that's, you're talking about I don't know how old she is, 19 probably.
Yeah. Moved
halfway across the country to train with someone because she wants to be the best, you know. You look at Sam Micale. He drives down from New York to Tom's, you know, every other week to train with Tom. You know, guys like, or Sean or whoever, you know, if you want to be at the top, you have to, it's that kind of stuff.
You got to be willing to go.
Yep. 4 hour, 6 hour drive, whatever it is. You know, look at Gordon. He drove to the city all the time. There's stories about that. Driving to New York City to train.
Sleeping on the mats.
Yep.
Yeah. There's curse word filled stories with that because he hated it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We are almost at the 2 hour mark, so I think we probably should call it.
That was such a good time.
I appreciate you guys coming in. We'll definitely, after one of these next events, we'll do this again soon. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
I have to pee now.
Remember, you don't need to move fast. You simply need to move forward. Life presents all of us different obstacles. It's easy to give up. However, get up, smile, and put one foot in front of the other. Everything works out. I promise you. Tom Deblass.